I think my discernment through this process has been heightened as it relates to when people say they support you or you think about who you can trust. There's a lot that I've learned about what that actually means in a process like this, especially when it's faced with controversy, because I think it's very easy for someone to say they support you when things are pretty, when things look good. But when controversy hits, then that support, that trust, all that stuff, it shifts, it changes. And one has to be willing to notice, to not take it personally, to not judge, to recognize that people are people, to be aware that because when this situation is over, I saw all of that. I saw everything that happened. I was awake, I was present for it, and now I can move differently on this new space that I'm in with the information that I've gained from this experience.
And just like for the record, you like you said, there were false allegations and there were no consequences that came like outside of the consequences that came from work and things of that nature. But in terms of legality, you being charged and convicted or anything like that, like just for the record, none of these accusations were ever found as convictions. I don't even know the right terminology here, but that's what I'm getting at. None of this stuff, you weren't convicted of anything.
No, not charged or convicted of anything.
Not charged or convicted.
Right.
It was an accusation that didn't even amount to charges being filed.
That's correct.
Okay. Look, I think it's important to just understand the truth of what took place. I do think in today's day and age, and rightfully when we talk about identity and showing up and all these things, like the male dominated industries that we have and how men often abuse power in certain situations, like these are things that do need to be addressed. Unfortunately, they're things that can be used against good individuals who aren't doing anything harmful. You see what I'm saying? It with respect to victims who actually get abused, there's the unfortunate other side that people use this system to cause abuse to other individuals by making these accusations because they know the accusation in itself can have certain damages. And it's crazy to hear that you didn't even have things officially filed as charges and still lost what you were doing professionally and everything. And that was before the Me Too movement and everything was going on. So that is unfortunate to hear, but the highlight or the moral, I think the takeaway is not letting that stop you, right? You mentioned that in the video about bouncing back, not giving up. You humbled yourself to even do a blue collar type job in a janitor, and you sort of spoke to that experience. But as you're going through that process, putting in that work, like what are you in your head? Like, what do you think you're setting yourself up for next? Like, because what just happened, you're in the process of figuring out the next thing, but like, what are you in your head at the time? Like, what are you actually thinking you're setting yourself up for?
I'll say one thing. So I think even when it came to being on the janitorial team, like I didn't see it as humbling myself at all, because I think I enjoy cleaning. So it wasn't a thing for me at all. I think that what I despised is how I was treated because I was cleaning. Because I think that there's a hierarchy in the types of positions that people have in this world that can determine the degree of respect that someone should receive based on their profession. And I don't believe in that. I believe that all work has dignity. If someone's making a decent living, they're providing for whoever they need to provide for, they should have the space to do that and not be ridiculed because of whatever their profession is. That piece. I think the second, though, is when one is, I think that relates to this previous point, when one is not focused on titles or position, I think one can develop the internal resources to figure out who you actually are. When I say who you actually are, that's who you are when no one's looking, when no one's watching, when there's no camera. Who is it that you know yourself to be? And if you can be intimate with that person and really love and hold and see that person, then I think it creates a greater sense of clarity, because then when you become one with who you are and you commit to showing up authentically, it creates a lot more freedom. because you're not hiding who you are. And I think that there's something that terrifies, it can terrify other people when they're confronted with someone who wants to show up in that way. Because I think a lot of folks we're meeting a lot of representatives. We're not actually communicating with other people. It's their representative, the person that they want you to think they are. And I think it creates a space where we actually can't be in honest relationship with one another because people are pretending. And I think that when you shift away from pretending and you lean into a much more honest living, as it were, then you create pathways